evening, everybody. I call to order the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, February 4th, 2024. The time right now is 7:07. There's a quorum of the Select Board present. I see Mr. Gito, Ms. Roberts, Vice Chair Carrera, and Mr. McCrisky, as well as myself, all present. If you will rise, if you're able, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd appreciate it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all so much. So we're going to begin our meeting with some really wonderful news. So we'll start with the swearing-in ceremony, and I will leave it to our Chief and Deputy Chief to fill us in from here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the opportunity to introduce some new people and some veterans to our department, to our community who have been promoted or hired over the last 6 months. Some of these promotions are pretty significant. We have two Lieutenant Timothy Hansler, who began his career with the Stoughton Police Department in January of 2013, was promoted to Sergeant in July of 2020, and then was promoted in October of 2024 to the rank of Lieutenant. He will be sworn in along with Lieutenant John Owens, also known as Jay Owens. He was hired by the Stoughton Police Department in 1998, was appointed to the rank of Sergeant in April of 2015, and promoted to Lieutenant in September of 2024. If they could come up to the front, stand right by the TV, and our town clerk will swear them in for the rank of Lieutenant.
If you guys want to raise your right hand and where I say state your name, state your name. Yes. I Timothy Hansler, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent upon me as a police lieutenant for the town of Stoughton. I will bear true faith and allegiance to and will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I will obey and be bound by such rules and regulations as are now or may be established by the town of Stoughton and its police department. I Timothy Hansler, do solemnly swear that I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will uphold the Constitution, my community, and the Stoughton Police Department, so help me God. I hereby accept the position of Police Lieutenant for the town of Stoughton. Congratulations.
So I would ask that the family step up, and they will pin the badge on both lieutenants. Yeah, he just doesn't listen. Around here? Yes, 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 sir. Yes. Ready? Very good. Good job, crew. Good job, crew. Good job, buddy. Okay, next up we have 3 sergeants that have been promoted. First one is Sergeant Tyson Antonino, Sergeant David Payton, and Detective Sergeant Mike Medina. Sergeant Antonino was first hired by the department in 2021 and then promoted in September of 24. He's a quick climber there. And we have David Payton, who was hired in the department as a patrol officer in 2017 and then just recently promoted last month in 2025. And Detective Sergeant Mike Medina was hired by the department in 2013 and was promoted to sergeant in 2021 and promoted to detective sergeant in 2025, January 2025.
Where I say you're going to insert your name, or I say state your name, okay? I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent upon me as a police sergeant for the town of Stoughton. I will bear true faith and allegiance to and will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I will obey and be bound by such rules and regulations as are now or may be established by the town of Stoughton and its police department. I do solemnly swear that I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will uphold the Constitution, my community, and the Stoughton Police Department, so help me God. I hereby accept the position of Police Sergeant for the town of Stoughton.
I would invite the families to come on up and pin the badge on your family member. Tyson? Hey, honey. I can't, I know, I know. Nice job, guys. Hey, honey. So we have one more pinning and oath of honor. With a little bit of backstory, if you don't mind, I'd like to explain how Noah Glover, our newest police officer, hired came to be. He applied when we left civil service, and we competed with other communities to obtain him, to get him to dedicate his next portion of his career to the Stoughton Police Department. We gave him a conditional offer back in September and worked with him so that he could obtain a municipal exemption for the academy, because he's already been a police officer for the city of Fairfax, Virginia for 2 years. In order for us to get an exemption from the Municipal Police Training Committee in Massachusetts, he had to have 2 full years. So we stayed for a couple more months down in Fairfax in their police department. He comes with great credentials already and a great career so far. He is received a team commendation for some of his heroic actions as an officer down in Fairfax. He is a Distinguished Life-Saving Award as well. And we are very happy to welcome him aboard. He just started January 27th, and he's going through our field training program for the next few weeks, just to get used to Massachusetts and the town of Stoughton. And so, Noah, if you could please step forward, Officer Glover, for your oath of office.
You're going to insert your name after I,
Noah Glover,
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent upon me as a police officer for the town of Stoughton. I will bear true faith and allegiance to and will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I will obey and be bound by such rules and regulations as are now or may be established by the town of Stoughton and its police department. I do solemnly swear that I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will uphold the Constitution, my community, and the Stoughton Police Department, so help me God. I hereby accept the position of police officer for the town of Stoughton.
I would invite his wife to pin his badge at this time. So all of those that were sworn in will come up and we'll take a picture with the select board at this time.
Those who were just sworn in, please come forward.
So we're going to take a 3 to 5 minute recess just to allow people to filter out. But we'll be back in 5 minutes. Before we get to the next item of the agenda, this is an announcement I'd like to make before we get to the comments, which are quite late in the night. The MMA has an organization called the Massachusetts Select Board Association. They've just recently elected a new president, and I wanted to acknowledge their new president, Deborah Roberts, and I'm looking forward to the next coming years and her administration in that organization. I'm very proud to have worked with her as a select board member. I know she's done a fabulous job over there. She was a vice president for I think 2 years, and now president. It's a huge lift, but I think we're in really great hands. So I just wanted to offer my congratulations to her, and how just express how grateful I am to her for her service to the entire Commonwealth. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Next up is the annual town meeting warrant. We've got a couple of items of business here. I'll start by just inviting Mark up, Mark Tisdale. What was that? I might not hear as bad, I'm sorry. One moment. Yeah, I apologize, guys. We are going to cover one item of business before that. I apologize, Mark. This is my fault. So this was for the number 6. Number 6, thank you very much. So this is the fire station presentation. We were going to move that up because I think there's somebody who was being part of the presentation who might have to leave a little bit early. Chief Carroll, are you guys prepared to move into this, or do you need time?
Good evening. Thank you for your time. Oh, sure. Taylor McDonald is going to give actual presentation. We also have the architect, Glenn Galvard. Sorry, Glenn.
I'll carry you along.
Yeah, you really threw me. I feel like you just moved me up in the batting order, and I wasn't ready. But I appreciate the time. We're just going to give an update on the phase 1 of the project, Prospect Street, which, as many of you know, we had to move in a little bit quicker than was expected, but things are going well. And again, we'll give a status update as to this phase of the project.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for letting us jump the line a little bit. I appreciate it very much. So I did put together an update that was sent around. I believe that's in your packet for tonight, too, and you're viewing that now. So what I wanted to do was really just walk through kind of where we ended up on Prospect Street, give you an update as far as Freeman Street's going now, kind of tell you where the budget stands. I'll answer any questions, obviously, as well, too. So I'll try not to take too much time, and I'll just jump right into it. So I think everybody's pretty much aware that Prospect Street opened this past summer. We had a grand opening, sorry, not the summer, the fall. Grand opening in October. We received the full certificate of occupancy. Punch list is complete there. We've already scheduled our one-year walkthrough. So what we did is looked a year out from when we received certificate of occupancy, and put that in the calendar already. So that's in the calendar for the architect, OPM, and the contractor. We'll go back right before that one-year warranty expires. We'll walk the building. We'll make sure, if there's simple settlement cracks, that have happened, from the building, air, temperature, changes, things like that, or if it, any tile needs to be fixed, whatever it may be. Buildings break in, and things have to be repaired. So. That's already on the schedule. All the attic stock has been turned over. We're just about done with final warranty and turnover document closeout as well. And as everybody knows too, we're completed there on budget. So we were happy to move from our Prospect Street project, and really we jumped right into Freeman. We planned it so that the bidding started right as Prospect was ending, so our bids came in, and we were ready to move right into Freeman. So with Freeman, our bids came in November, 11/1 actually. They did come in under budget, actually, of what we were expecting, not by a ton, but by a little. And we were pretty nervous, that Freeman number we've been massaging for a while from when we first set these budgets. So. It was great to see that come in under budget. Our low bidder there is Page Building and Construction. They're actually a Stoughton contractor on Page Street. That's why they're called Page. So they were the low bidder there. They jumped right into it. So at this point, we're done with the asbestos remediation. Demolition on the interior of the building has been taking place. And probably next week we'll start to dismantle the maintenance bay, and the bays that are coming down, those portions of the building. So they've moved right along. It's been great working with them already. We had our kickoff meeting in December, right before the new year, and our notice to proceed was issued in December as well, 12/2. So the demo, really just started 12/26. So they've been in the building about a month now, and they're already done with the asbestos remediation, and interior demo is really getting close to done. So they're moving well. We're happy with what we've seen so far. So just a quick schedule update. I don't really need to touch on anything with Prospect Street. But with Freeman, again, our kickoff was on 12/5. So we have a year-long duration there. So we're expecting substantial completion 12/5 of 25. So hopefully by next December, we're back in front of you, saying, look, Freeman Street project is complete or substantially complete. There is a closeout period there as well. And then we're having a grand opening, presentation or ceremony in January of 26 is the goal. Next, I wanted to give everybody an update on where we are with our budget. I'll start with Prospect Street. So we're currently closing that out now. Our total budget at the start of construction was $23,889,655. It still stands at that today. We had a good contingency for a good reason as we moved into that project. I know people thought there was issues with that site as we moved into there. We knew that there was ledge, and we hit a good portion of ledge, and that's what ate up that contingency, to be honest. Today, as it stands, we have over $600,000 of that contingency left for Prospect Street, and we're closing that out now. We do have a couple final change orders that were, left over from, the very tail end of that project. It's somewhere in the $30,000 range. So we'll be done, closed out with Prospect Street, I'd say in the next 1 to 2 weeks. And really that contingency, because it's part of the big project, gets moved over to Freeman Street. So finished under budget there, and we have money left over to push over to Freeman. So for Freeman Street, with our page bid, there's been no change to this total budget to this point. No change orders yet over at Freeman Street. We just started, but just about $8.5 million for the Freeman Street budget. And then included in that as well, we have a contingency that's just about over $600,000 as well there. So we feel comfortable with that moving forward, especially because of the money that we've, recognized savings in at Prospect Street. So over on the far right, you'll see the total project, what we carried for each construction project, and the total of that being, a little over $32 million. If you take what the town was appropriated plus the ARPA funds, you'll see that currently between the two projects and the money that the town has appropriated in the ARPA funds, we're over $1.3 million under budget. So I think the town should be very proud of where we stand on both these projects. The fact that we're able to roll over the first one and move right into the second is great. We haven't really skipped a beat. It's the same team. We didn't even stop meeting, really. We just kept rolling over the meetings. So it's just a different contractor, one that we feel great working with. And we're excited to deliver this next stage of the project to you. And any questions?
Vice Chair Carrera.
If I remember correctly, there was 3 phases to this project, not 2. Where does Station 2 stand?
So Station 2 will not be done until we actually move out from the upstairs, right? So as each project's done, so once Prospect Street was done, we moved operations out of Freeman Street. Once Freeman Street is done, we'll move out of the upstairs of Central Street, and then we can begin that.
I understand that, but what's the cost put aside for that? Is there going to be enough money here to do what has to be done there, or are we going to be looking for a little bit more?
Yeah, I can't imagine we would be, because as we're looking at it and something like a conversation, because we're even a year out, and some of the guys came to me, will we have money? I'm like, let's finish this phase and move on. We're at a good pace. We're doing good at being under budget. But ideally, when we're looking at that, each one of the offices upstairs could be a dorm room, and we have it fixed. But really, I think it needs, obviously, new paint, carpeting. Ideally, it would be nice to be able to clear some of the space out downstairs. We have some of the equipment, the extractor for their cleaning their gear and everything. sitting in the bays down there because we need to move them out from downstairs to the upstairs. See, we're not, you know, a lot of departments, a lot of stations, they buy, you know, they rent, you know, mobile trailers, and they live out of that and operate out of that at millions of dollars a cost. We took more of a strategic approach here, and, you know, is it a prolonged period of time? Yes, but it's the right way to do it, save money, and be fiscally responsible to the town, but also it doesn't disturb us that much. It's, you know, from Freeman Street to Prospect, we'll move from Station 2 upstairs into Freeman Street upstairs, and then we'll start on there. I don't know whether we actually priced it out, but we have talked that it's going to be very minimal. There's not any structural components to it being done. It's really interior finishes, yeah. Yeah, I'm confident that, you know, we should be able to do it at a reasonable price. I can't expect coming back, especially for that project. It's kind of built out, if you think about it, right? The dorms, those offices now will become dorms, and assigning 5 down there, it will fit perfect.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mccuskey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not questions. If anything, everybody on that job site knows who I am. I've been around. So it's not questions, but a comment. And it's to follow up to when our board took the initiative a while back to dissolve the committee that was at a $65 million project without land to put it on. We took the bold step of doing something different. So I just wanted to take the time, Taylor and Glenn, your staffs, both, and Richard, when I had made the initial call and asked if the residents of Stoughton were getting their money's worth, they had the honesty and professionalism to say what they thought, which was no. And the numbers that are here now show that it was the right decision, you know, and everything went flawlessly. It was a great team. We're under budget. There was a lot of comments that were made, and people that will always try to throw the monkey wrench into the works. But we're on track to meet the same, you know, the next year, being on time, and that this was a great move, a great partnership. The chief, the assistant chief, I bet they're going to be happy when it's over, because never mind doing the regular job, you get home and then you're sitting on the phone at night talking about how we make out on the job site. So in that, I would just say my thanks. My colleagues, I would imagine, agree, but I'll let them speak for themselves if they choose. But just thank you. Thank you to the team, you know, that made that possible, and our team here in-house at Town Hall. Mark, our assistant town manager, town engineer, who, when he heard it first, I was glad I was a few miles away. But Mark and his team and everybody there, Fran, everybody that worked on this project, the taxpayers have paid you folks to do your job, and you've all combined done a stellar job in meeting the needs for the town of Stoughton while living within a budget. So thank you much to all, and would you please pass on to your colleagues that are not here with us tonight my thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Ms. Roberts, all yours.
Yes, I too want to thank you. This great leadership, great coming in under budget. This is wonderful to see the ideas come to fruition. So thank you very much. I look forward to having the grand opening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jeter, do you have any comments? Thank you so much. I will actually just, once again, I probably going to get embarrassing at some point, but I do really want to thank Pomeroy & Associates, Norman Whittier. You guys have been absolutely amazing to work with. And from the beginning of this all the way to now, I don't know if you'll ever want to work with us, but I can say that I would recommend you to anybody. I think you guys have done a really stellar job. And I can't express my gratitude enough. So thank you very much for the work you've done. And internally, we have the best town hall a town staff, a town could have, and wonderful chief, assistant chief, engineers, everybody involved. I really have just tremendous amount of respect for the work you guys do, and I'm grateful for it. So thank you. I've got no other questions.
Thank you. And I want to extend my appreciation and support of this board. You know, I know it's a little bit of outside the box thinking, but I think we came together as a team in the working group, and we've been led by, Taylor, but Pomeroy Associates and Glenn and Don from Dawn Whittier. Whenever I had a technical question, it's not, I can't say it enough. I came out on a sprint thinking, oh yes, we'll get a station. It's a marathon. I gassed out on that first mile, but I'm sustaining. The thing is that people need to understand is it's not the building of old. We are meeting every week. I mean, we have it in our planner every Thursday we're meeting, and then sometimes more than that. And everything is checked, rechecked, and checked again. And I can tell you that the town should feel very comfortable that their investment is not, we're not throwing money away. We are actually, it is all accounted for. And again, it's checked so many times and then checked again through the town. So, but I appreciate your faith and trust in us. And I think that, again, we're midway through it, but I think that you'll be happy with Freeman Street. I think it's going to be an amazing project.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. And I must say that it is a pleasure to work with the town of Stoughton. It really is. You know, we're not done yet. We still have a lot of work to do, but I will say that I'm now using this as kind of a blueprint for other communities that we work with. So I think the town should be really proud of that. When we have our first kickoff meetings with towns and they ask, you know, what's the best way to do this? And the first thing I say is get town staff on your committee right away. Because it has really made a huge difference here. And you guys have a staff that, you know, is A+, because we really couldn't have done it without them. So they deserve all the credit in the world too. So like I said, I call it the Stoughton blueprint now. And I definitely use it in other towns. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Any other comments? Mr. Kursky.
So I just wanted to add to that. We were all at the logistics park groundbreaking a couple months ago, and it's nice to hear that theme that we heard then when the senior vice presidents of that project said the same exact thing, that the Stoughton, a private-public partnership, should be the model for projects like this. And it started with a couple of selectmen rattling the sabers to some department heads because we had the faith in them as well to get the job done. And to hear the developers now for the second time in 3 months saying that is a good sign that the town moves forward and we're working the way it's supposed to be as partners. Bringing our employees together with developers who know what they're doing and representing the taxpayers, and it's coming into projects that we're bringing in $6 million in one project, and we're coming in under budget on another project. That's how we work for the residents of the town. That's how we deliver results, by working together. And it goes to, to say for the members of the board who have done the same thing. We can get a lot more done working as a team than we can, pulling against each other. So again, thank you very much for everything you do. To the town manager as well, thank you. The changes that we've had in this town since you've been here, and you are the town manager, and they all work for you or through the department heads to you, where again we're meeting the needs of the residents and working hard. If somebody has a mic on, they can shut off, because I think that's I don't need it anyway. But no, Mr. Town Manager, again, this is we're working well together. We're doing things that have never been done before. It's innovative ideas, and sometimes a collision of ideas ends up in the greatest results. We just all come in, work hard, and when we can talk and be civil, and some of us admit, me big time, admitted what I don't know, I learn more. So thank you to all of you for what you've done. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, Vice Chair Carrera, there's additional comments?
I just want to say that I got back on this board in '21, and I promised Deputy Chief Maycomba that I would do the right thing for the men and women of the fire department in Stoughton. That the group was going in the wrong direction, the egos were getting out of control, and when we got back on, I asked Chairman McCrisky, I says, we got to make a motion, we got to dissolve. And then we came up with the idea to utilize Mark in the interior and leave it alone. Let them report to us how they were working with the engineers and the architects. We didn't have to worry about who was going to make a meeting or what. It was just a little bit out of our hands. We had some things to say, but I'm glad you guys are happy. You know where I stood. I tried to get you a different site, but as long as you're happy with that, that's all I care about, is that you guys finally have a place to roost. That's all I got to say.
And we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
I don't know
Thank you.
Chief, if you want to stick around for number 7, we can get you out of here.
Sure. Give me a second.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks again for letting us jump. My wife's giving a presentation in our town to our town council, so I want to go support her.
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Very much.
I just put together a thing for myself today, so thank you again. So tonight we had presented and it was rushed on my part, and I'm accountable for that on the first time, but it was time for Stoughton. Well, actually, I give the credit to Mr. Tisdale. Mark put in for a regional grant to update our hazard mitigation plan. This was a mitigation plan, if you remember, or maybe not. Old Colony had put one together back in, I believe it was 2015. That was adopted by this town. What we did was we worked, again, through a competitive regional grant with the towns of Abington and Easton, and sort of did a collaborative shared resource type grant. We did have to offset it with some working hours. I believe it was approximately $15,000 worth of working hours, which we did. We paid in kind, I guess you would call it. But our goal was to really update and look at the town of Stoughton in these workshops, and it's a lot of work. I think we started a couple years ago, if you know, and pointing out and working within the town and working with them to, I guess, identify concerns, areas. And what this does for us is it puts us, this project itself is again, time-consuming, where we had to actually hand the ball off. There are multiple hours a week of meetings with FEMA where we handed the ball off, I guess, to Sarah Blacketer, who was very successful in kind of learning this process and then actually distributing it. There was a lot of information that went out, and it was a collaborative thing where we had to reach out sometimes to the Conservation Commission, engineers, Public Works, police, in bringing all that information together, we were able to kind of solidify or point out some more areas of town that, you know, we have to really, I guess, be resilient kind of prepare for, where we have major water flooding. If you would look in this project, and some of them were like, I guess, some dams in Abington or Easton that are more concerning than in Stoughton, but Stoughton has maybe some more flooding issues with some of the downbursts, tornadoes or downbursts in the air that we've been hit with over the years. Severe storms, winter storms, large impact areas, and then kind of measure that on critical severity. We were putting out, I think, the town crier on January 17th of 2023, put out a survey through the community. We got a little bit of feedback from that. There's a lot going on in Stoughton that people kind of get more wrapped up into or more politically charged with, so we didn't get a ton of feedback, but still the same. We took that information and we put it into this plan. Figured out where are our risks. What this does is this gives us basically a map, and FEMA has already looked at this and approved it. It really comes to you as kind of the exclamation point, like, yes, the town understands the need for this. It will open you up to grants to build resiliency, right? Like when they look at, we go in, let's say, engineering wants to, maybe down, I want to say down by, we had pointed out maybe down by the Goddard Highlands, right? Maybe there's some water pumping stations, or what was the other one there? There's one, Culvert on West Street. If we were looking for some grant money or that type of stuff, this puts us in that position to get that. Does it help with emergency? Not the type you're seeing out in LA. I mean, they're really just kind of there for that emergency response, but it does allow us to build up the resiliency. Listen, last fall, the amount of woods fires and it's real. We don't have the wildland fires because of the way the winds go, but when I was over in Milton, the wind was picking up and pushing embers across the highway into the other side that we had to go over. So, without a lot of snow and packed snow, the climate is changing. For whatever reason, I'm not political about it. I just know that I don't have to shovel my driveway most of this winter. So, but to that point, there are things we have to prepare for, and we have to prepare the town to be ready for that. And I think having this plan in place, having identified some critical areas, it will allow us to continue to work that way. We did have one before. I think it was called the MVP. The MVP, yeah. And so we built off of that as well. And Mark, I don't know whether you might have some more insight on that.
Well, I appreciate it, Mike. As Mike said, we applied for a grant at that point in time. I think, Tom, you were just coming on board. I might have still been in your seat. I don't know. It was a while ago.
No, you were in his seat because you were quick to hand this to me.
And I was ready to hand this off to you because we did not have the staff.
I shouldn't have stopped and said hi.
So I figured it was a good handoff to give this to our emergency management coordinator of the town. So he took it over, and he did a great job with it. He did a lot of research, semi-annoying at times, which was great. He kept on poking us for information. This isn't like a new study or anything. This takes information that we already had on file with the town and pulls it into this document. It happened, it actually, the timing was great because, as you can tell, the last couple of years we've done a lot of flooding studies and had grants for that. We rolled that information into here. We did an MVP grant document that got finalized about 3 or 4 years ago. A lot of that stuff is almost a mirror image of what this requires, so that stuff got rolled in. So there was no new studies. We just took the information we already had, which is up to date, and we rolled it into this document, which will open us up for future grants and things of that nature. So thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. You did a great.
Well, thank you, Mark.
You took the football and brought it across the goal line.
Yeah.
So
I fumbled it a little. But yeah, I guess we'll be open for questions. I know this has been a long process for us, and I was a little fuzzy in it because we started this back when Mark quite literally took on the interim town manager, and he was obviously extremely busy, and I was glad to help, to be honest with you. I just didn't realize the amount of work that would be going into this. In assigned timing workshops that I was already committed to building that fire station or just operating, right, the command and control of the fire department. So, so if I'm a little bit fumbled, it was a refresh of kind of reacclimating myself with this information. But we'll accept, any questions and concerns or whatnot.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'll start from my left this time. Mr. Gito, do you have any questions?
Thank you. Do you have any projects that you need to deal with aside from your stormwater plan that you are probably dealing with now that came from this work?
Specific projects from other installment.
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's always the concerns in Stoughton of, the critical facilities. I believe that I would like to personally, or with the, town librarian, Mr. McGee, is apply for a grant for a generator for that library, because we do use it as a warming or cooling or charging when people lose power for extended periods of time. And that's just one thing where I think there was a little bit of a critical gap when that library was built to not put a generator in there, so I'd like to work on that. I kind of look at the emergency, resiliency or pre-planning, we call it, is kind of look at past incidents, do an after-action report, understand where this town is really has some gaps that need to be filled. I think sometimes we get a little bit lucky. We do have a good relationship with National Grid to get our schools up before a lot of other area towns, and that's a lot of work and a lot of phone calls and a lot of really pushing, but I think we can actually be more resilient and not let those power lines go out in the woods areas. So a lot of the trimming of the trees and keeping those up and cut back, especially along Sumner Street and the substation there. But this is a fire chief talking to you. I'm sure there's actually even more with engineering, flooding of streets, and some of the way in which, this is amazing. There's some amazing stuff that happens there, because just building the fire station and understanding how he controls water runoff, I kind of geeked out on it, not going to lie. And Mark was happy to get up on his whiteboard and show me all this stuff, but that stuff's important. It really is. I mean, what it does is it always has a ripple effect. It makes the road safer, which makes our response maybe not necessary, which is important, frees up the police department. So, it does have a kind of a domino effect. And so if we can build some of the things listed as critical in here for Stoughton, I think that we're on a good path. I don't know whether you have anything critical in.
Just flooding stuff, right?
Just flooding, rainwater. Any other questions? No? Okay.
Mr. Roberts, do you have any questions?
I do. I apologize. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
you had that and put that in your packet,
we'll
right?
When we get to the, after a couple questions, we'll.
Yeah. So I kind of talked to the Easton town manager, and it's kind of how he ran it, but, sorry, select board. So, I'm sorry, to you.
Hello, Chief,
Hi.
and hello, Mr. Tisdale. Nice seeing you again. My question is, I guess to me it's a basic question, but an important question. We're grouping the policy with Abington and Easton. What do we have in common with them other than we're flanked? Is our landscape approximately the same? Every time we build something, we hear that we're worried about the wetlands, Stoughton has a lot of wetlands, and then the ledge. You know, it costs more money because we have to, I guess, excavate or break through the ledge. So is that something that's typical in Abington and Easton, or so what's the common thread? If you could just help me with that.
So the way to document, it's a great question. The way to document is organized. It's in 3 different parts, right? 3 towns. The only reason why it's a regional effort was because it was cheaper for 3 towns to come together and hire 1 consultant to do the same task. Plus, you can also learn from other towns what they may have different concerns that you weren't even thinking about in your town, and it just made a better product at the end. Because towns were learning from each other. Oh yeah, you know, so some towns don't think about flooding. Well, you have a town engineer that loves flooding, so this town thinks about flooding, but other towns don't. So I think that's probably a bad example, but you know, that's the idea of it.
Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions, Vice Chair Carrera or Mr. McCrisky? No questions? No, I appreciate this, the presentation. And what the chief needs us to do is to adopt this resolution. And there's a certificate of adoption that is in the package. On the cover sheet of the agenda item itself, there's a URL if people want to actually view the plan itself. I know, Mr. Carrera, I believe you have a hard copy as well. It's about 200 pages or so, so it's a good body of work.
And there'll be a link on the on the town's website and also on the fire department's website. We'll have that link to the hazard mitigation plan itself.
Perfect. So if there's no further questions, is there a motion to adopt this to approve this
second.
certification of adoption made by Mr. Gito, seconded by Ms. Roberts? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you so much for shepherding this, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I apologize. Yeah, it really isn't. It's a lot of work from a lot of different people. I just told them that I would present it and see if I can get that ball across that.
He's so modest.
I am. It's different than being up here with Tom, isn't it?
Thank you so much. Okay, so give him a second, but we'll go over the items 3 and 4 now with Mr. Tisdale. Do you have a preference, 3 or 4? This would be the accepting the land or the in your town meeting?
4 first.
4, I thought it might be easy to just knock that out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this is item 4 we're going to be covering right now. To consider and discuss donation of sale of 5 parcels of land on Mill Street.
Thank you very much. There's 4 parcels of land on Mill Street that Mr. Russo reached out to the town. He's looking to donate the 4 parcels of land. They're roughly around the area where that bad bend is in Mill Street, if you're all familiar with that bad bend. Again, there's no, he said either sell it or donate it. Obviously, we will take the donation. I think it's a benefit to the town to take the donation. There's a map in the backup information that shows you where it is. It's right where the bend is. There's a big culvert there. It's been very difficult. A lot of people complain about that bend in the road for years, but there's not much you can do because we don't own the land on each side of it. I'm not saying this will solve the problem, but it's a piece of the puzzle to maybe solve that problem. We'll have more area abutting the bend. We may be able to fix that bend in the future. Maybe in the future when the culvert needs replacing, that's when we start thinking about, redesigning the road and putting a new culvert in. Also, a lot of our flooding studies in town mention that we need to get more flood storage. So this is an area right near the stream, right near wetlands. If we own the land, we can possibly produce more flood storage from it. And lastly, there's a sewer easement that cuts right through these parcels, a town sewer easement. This would give us better access to that sewer easement without having to go on private property and ask permission to access the sewer easement. It's the main sewer line in town, yeah. So for all those reasons, I think it's a great donation to acquire.
Perfect. So this was, I think originally we might contemplate maybe putting this on the consent agenda, but in the letter that, with a recommendation from you, did mention that the owner of the property was looking to see if the town would be interested in acquiring it either by donation or by purchase. And I wasn't sure if that was an option that hadn't been determined yet. But is the current owner is looking to donate this land to the town?
Yes, yep. And I would leave, if you're going to take a vote on this, I would leave the word sell in case we need he sells it to us for $1. I don't know if the legal avenue is selling or donating, but we would let legal counsel deal with that. And the plan would be either in the fall or in the next annual town meeting, depending on the schedule, to have that documentation ready to acquire that land.
Okay. And your recommendation is that we do acquire this land for the reasons you just described. For the sake of tonight, what type of motion are you actually looking for? Would it be just to endorse the project? Because this seems like it's a decision that ultimately has to go through town meeting, so we wouldn't be able to vote on this tonight. Am I correct about that, or am I mistaken?
Yes, we just need a board endorsement to continue negotiations with this fellow. Obviously, a donation or a selling price of $1 or something like that.
Okay, perfect.
So.
Does anybody have any questions? Mr. Gio?
I think getting to the dollar stage is kind of an important part of this. The land isn't useful for much else.
Right.
And so if we give you sort of direction to acquire this property, I would hope the number doesn't rise up too high.
Yeah, no, I'm expecting to get this by donation. The reason why I said the word sell is I don't know if that's the process we need to go through legally for it.
In terms of acquiring the property and
Right.
legally doing
Right.
that, yes. I guess I'm interested in making sure that our expectations and yours and the property owners are basically the same.
Right. So at this point, it's a general reach out by somebody saying, are we interested? So before we invested a lot of time internally with staff to investigate this and get articles drawn up for town meeting, we wanted to get this board's endorsement at a high level. And then obviously you'll have many more documents presented to you in the future to approve.
Thank you. Mr. Gio, do you have any further questions? Ms. Roberts, any questions or concerns?
No, Mr. Tisdale answered my question, what's in it for us? And you answered that right off the bat, so thank you.
Perfect. Mr. McCrisky? Vice Chair Carrera?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Tisdale. That brook is not intermittent. That brook runs all the time, right? So
Yeah.
that has 200 feet of
That's
protection.
a pretty intense brook, yeah.
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 So that's why I would stick with the donation. And like Mr. Gito said, it's if we have to go with money, it's got to be $1 because the land's only good for what pretty much I grew up in that area, so I know it very well. It does flood, so it would add, substance to what we need down that end. Because when you go a little bit below there, you got Greenbrook, which is under today's standards would. Sorry, trade you. Under today's standards, Greenbrook would not be there. So it's more protection too. So I agree with it.
Perfect. So, yeah, so our assumptions right now is that the cost would be de minimis, and you know, if that were to change, then we could reconsider it at some time in the future. But assuming that it is, you know, an immaterial cost, what is the will of the board? Is there a motion to
Motion.
to endorse this?
Yep, motion to endorse with the recommendations by the town engineer.
Perfect. Motion is made by Vice Chair Carrera, seconded by Mr. Cheeto. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you very much. So that's, tell us how it goes. Thank you so much for doing it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Next item is the 2025 annual town meeting warrant. Tonight, it's our obligation to close the warrant. We've got a couple of steps that we have to follow. First, you know, in a moment, I'll give Mr. Tisdale an opportunity to provide just a quick summary and any additional comments he would like to make. But the steps that we'll have to take are to move to insert the articles into the warrant, including the order in which they appear, if it's different than what's currently provided to us. And then we have to move to authorize town council and appropriate town staff to make clerical, typographical, or editorial, but not substantive changes as may be necessary. Third, we'll move to close the warrant. Fourth, we'll move to authorize and instruct appropriate town staff to post the warrant in accordance with state law and the town charter. And then fifth, we'll move to set the date and time of annual town meeting as per the charter. I'll read through those again as we have to make those motions, but for the time being, I just wanted to give Mr. Tisdale the floor. I have to say I've been working with you to some degree. My role has been pretty small, but I've been working with you as you've been working through these changes in process for putting together the warrant. And we're really seeing tremendous payoff from your hard work on this, and I just want to express my gratitude for that.
Oh, well, thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate it. You learn from past mistakes, right? Every time you make a mistake, you get better at it. So, in the years past, it's frustrating to everybody to not have a complete document in front of you, not to have backup material or old material, whatever it may be. So I try very hard. I have a whole process, and I go semi-crazy trying to do this, but I get you, I think, a pretty good product at the end of the day. When somebody sends me a quote for something to buy something, I put it in a certain folder, I organize it, and then they'll revise the quote, and then I go in there right away, as soon as I get the email, go revise it. So I think everything's very current. I think it's in order. We have had a lot of meetings, Tom, myself, the finance director, different department heads going through this. All department heads, all stakeholders that have articles in this have seen the warrant many times through its various phases, the chart, the warrant. So everybody's reviewed it. CPC is an example of a stakeholder that's looked at all their articles. A lot of back and forth with them, but we're in a good spot now. So the warrant's shaped up pretty well. Just to repeat what you said tonight, you have to close the warrant. We will submit it to FinCom on Thursday. The staff will, by Thursday, hopefully sooner. With just crossing T's, dotting I's, things if there's any of that. The back sheet is very important to be signed tonight by the board. That's critical. Sometimes that little step we forget about, and then we're chasing all of you to get signatures and things like that. Then once we get the final document, we'll stamp it in with the town clerk. Once it's stamped in with the clerk, we will forward it to FinCom. Then what happens is the last week in February, in the first 2 or 3 weeks in March is when FinCom has their meetings, right? They have their meetings on the budget, all the articles in the warrant. What we've been trying to do with FinCom the last few years is we try to get them in a good place for their meetings so that they have the motions in very good shape. The motions are technically the FinCom's motions. But we want to work with them. We have ideas how to fund things, and there's certain ways articles need to be written up, and we do that for them. So we give them a pretty solid document for their meetings. They can change it if they want to. It's their purview to change it. But what you'll see in this, and this is one of the when you vote on the warrant, you're voting on the article. You're not voting on the motions. You're voting on the article. That's the warrant. Everybody since the beginning of time gets that confused. The warrant is what's in front of you today. It just has the article, and you have that little pot below that says estimated cost inserted by select board. The next step with the FinCom is where you get the motion, and it talks about how you pay for things, and the words can change a little bit from the article. But coming in front of your board tonight, we thought it might be prudent because you may ask the question, what are you thinking about how we're funding this? So in the chart that goes along with this, the finance director has gone down with all the money things and has called that column of how we're going to fund this anticipated funding sources subject to change. But she has some very good ideas on how to fund a lot of these things, through the operating budget, through revenue, through free cash, closeout of articles, things of that nature. It's all in your chart there. Things like free cash, it's not certified as of yet, but I know it's coming very soon. So once that gets certified and we know the number, then we can start, filling in the gaps with the motions. In coming up with free cash recommendations for FinCom. With that said, again, I'm the organizer of the document, but it's a team effort between all the stakeholders to get this thing in place. So I may not be able to answer a specific question about an article, but if you do have one, I can take a stab at it or reach out to somebody who can answer the question for you. That's all I got.
Thank you. I guess we'll move over to this side. Mr. McCrisky, do you have any questions or comments? Vice Chair Carrera?
Mark, what are we doing with the $900,000 that's left over that's actually 24 money? Is that going to become free cash money, or Biz gave us that, Elizabeth Zelinski gave us that amount. It was like 900,053 or something like that.
I'm not sure what 900,000 you're talking about, to be honest with you.
It's a, Scott, let me refresh my memory. It's a cleanup of a balance sheet where debt was overstated by $898,000. That money has been adjusted on the balance sheet, and a portion of it was used for the OPEB obligation,
Yep.
or the regional assessment. It was one of the two.
OPEB, yep.
OPEB obligation, the $480,000 from this current year, and the remaining $400,000 is in the operating budget.
Okay. So,
I know now. I know what the
because you know
900,000
how
were.
it floats, and people extrapolate that the 900 is now like 1.9, and what are we doing with it? And
Right.
Appreciate you asking that.
I just
Sir.
need
Thank
that to
you.
get out there that we're not hiding anything.
Of course, thank you so
problem.
much. Ms. Roberts?
No, Mr. Chairman, no questions.
Thank you so much. Mr. Gito?
I indicated my concerns the last meeting or the meeting before last. I will continue to deal with that with the Finance Committee, and you can expect that to happen.
Thank you. I only had just one question. You may not be able to answer it, but I know free cash isn't available yet. So in the places where the anticipated funding source says free cash, I know that's aspirational. We need to get the actual data before we know that for certain. Though I also, given our track record for the last 10 years, it's pretty predictable. So it's we kind of have a good idea of where that's going to end up. Mm-hmm. The question I do have is the ladder truck that's showing up as a borrowing article, and
Yep.
I might be misremembering, but I think that was listed as free cash in the past.
Yeah, that's a great catch there. Huh? Yeah.
I'd like to handle that because there's some new developments on that.
Okay.
I want to make sure Mark is in the loop on. We got a ruling from DOR. We have to make the appropriation. We do not have to borrow the money. In the past, you actually had to borrow the money and have it on hand. So what we're doing is, Mark and Biz and I sat down and discussed this last week. It'll be 4 years before the truck is delivered. Town meeting has been asking that we save money for some of these big capital purchases. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're depositing $500,000 recommending the deposit of $500,000 a year for 4 years into an equipment stabilization account. So when the truck is delivered in 4 years, we'll be able to pay cash for it, not have to borrow money.
That's very, very clever and makes perfect sense. So just, I want to sort of restate it, so make sure I understand it. We do currently, in the current year, we have to make some sort of an appropriation. So we make it a borrowing, and we might even go through the motions of voting through that through, but that does not mean that we actually have to go out to the market and sell bonds, right, and start incurring debt. So it's more of like an insurance in the event that we don't pull together the cash, and then we can always cancel the bond after 4 years. And instead, over the next several years, we're going to put away the cash to actually pay for the equipment, and that is, rather than instead of appropriating cash now and encumbering that money for 4 years. We can encumber just portions of it over the course of 4 years.
Mr. Chairman, you'll also note in the budget that our town stabilization fund is now at $7.9 million. So we're almost within pennies away from the 5% recommended by DOR. So I just find it interesting that even after we heard the speech last night, the town is saving, and the town is well prepared in the future should we need our stabilization fund, or should we be making larger capital purchases. So you'll be very excited to see the end product of the budget.
Yeah, I didn't know about this, but I have to say it's a very, very clever way for us to be able to utilize as much cash each year as we can, but also have this ready to go and available, and have a safety net in the event that something unpredictable happens. So really, really impressed by that. Thank you so much for doing that.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak on that issue?
Yes.
I have a problem with taking money and putting it into this little pile and taking money and putting it into another little pile. We are sitting here in 2025 looking at, I believe we're talking about putting $2 million into a pot for a couple of years, 4 years down the road. We don't know what's going to happen 4 years from now. We can put that $500,000 a year into a stabilization fund to deal with the things that really need to be dealt with 4 years from now, without putting some money into this pot and that pot and another one, because if we put all of the money into little pots, then we are tying our hands from being able to do what we need to do if we're confronted with something that's really important. And I would resist doing that. We have 3 or 4 different stabilization funds now, which, if I were doing it, would turn into one, to be able to give the town maximum flexibility to do the things that need to be done. End of story.
Thank you very much. So let's go to another round. Does anybody else have any other questions? Nope. Okay, so then we are, thank you very much, Mark, I really appreciate it. So our first task is to insert the articles into the warrant and to establish the order, their order. So if anybody has any specific order that they have in mind, you're welcome to that, but also just a motion to insert Article 1 through 50 into the warrant in the order in which they appear in the document we have before us. That motion would be appropriate too.
So made.
Okay, made by Ms. Roberts, seconded by Vice Chair Carrera.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
If I hear the motion, was it a motion made?
Yeah, the motion was to insert the Articles 1 through 50 into the town meeting warrant in the order in which they appear.
Okay, I did have a question, because I know we had beaten this horse into the ground a few times a few years back, And I thought there was a motion made at that time that the articles would be submitted in the order they were approved or the order they were received. Did we change that somewhere?
We did that and it was sort of an informal policy, and that was for petitioned articles, I believe.
Yep.
If we received like 3 or 4 of those, then they would be put in the order in which they were received. But all of these articles, everything except for the one petitioned article, we are currently receiving them all right now. So
Okay, so the motion we made was on petitioned articles only then, at that time?
That was my recollection.
Okay, all right, thank you. You answered my question.
And it's sort of an effort to be fair. We had a couple of, maybe ones that
Well,
we liked
no.
and some that we didn't like, and how we
We
do
made
it.
that motion at the time because there was some unfair moves gone on a couple articles.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so, no, okay,
So
thank
to
you.
make
You
it-
answered my question.
To make it
Thank you.
fair and somewhat arbitrary, it was just the order in which they came in, and we're not going to put our thumbs on the scale for petitioned articles. But so there's a motion to insert Article 1 through 50 into the warrant in the order in which they appeared. That was made by Ms. Roberts, seconded by Vice Chair Carrera. Yes, Mr. Gito.
We never received any discussion about any of the zoning articles. And I thought that we were supposed to at least know what they were. I mean, not just read them, but have an opportunity to discuss them before they were inserted. I thought that was something that was going to happen. I thought we had talked about this several years ago. And I'm just curious. I'm not trying to not deal with that, but I've had no opportunity, aside from getting the thing and having to call somebody up. Nobody else knows. We don't know what other people's questions are, and that was something that I thought that was important. The zoning articles are not just to buy a little thing. They are for a huge amount of time and set the direction of the town in terms of a lot of activities that occur, economic and social. So I just want to highlight the fact that I think it's a deficiency in what we're doing this year.
We can definitely address that in future years. I mean, any articles that are coming from other boards and committees and authorities, we haven't vetted, but we had opportunities to be at their meetings and to watch them. That includes the CPC articles. We haven't had those presented to us either. The planning board, my understanding is the planning board vetted these articles and they've had hearings on these. Is that correct?
Yep. So I do know what Mr. Gito's referring to. There were years, a few years back, where an article would come to this board to be inserted into the warrant, and then by the time you get to town meeting, the article is completely different than what you inserted into the warrant. The intent of it changed, wording changed. It was never vetted fully through the planning board before tonight's meeting. All these articles have been approved by the planning board, are in final form tonight. The town planner is online to answer any technical questions you may have. So tonight would be your opportunity to ask those questions to them. But they are in final form. They've been all voted by the planning board. We have kind of met that change that happened a few years ago. I remember clearly what you were referring to.
Thank you.
No problem.
Was Mr. Roth on the line? Does anybody have any questions for him? No? Okay. Mr. Kerr, did you have some?
No, that would be painful.
Fair enough. I appreciate it. Mr. Kerr, did you want to be recognized?
I did get in hard copy from Gilda through the town manager all the department head reports so that you could understand. I mean, I don't want anybody to think we're just rubber stamping this. We did get all the stuff. You guys probably got electronic, but I like the paper. But you can spend time, you can go back and forth, and there was this stuff missing. And I agree with Mr. Gito, because I had written down Article 45, the changes to the wetlands. I wrote down a couple other ones. Mark cleared one up tonight that we pretty much have nothing to say over it. It's a state mandate, and it was federally handed down, so it's going to be a pain in the ass. But everything was good. It was easier to follow this time. I didn't get a headache. I didn't want to have to ask too many questions. And I got to say, I got to give it to Paul Jaffoon. He listened, and he's going to buy a used truck that doesn't go out every day, which makes a smart buy because it's not an abused piece. We're getting a truck, a savings of probably 80 grand on that truck. And that's the way you have to buy stuff sometimes. You can't go brand new for something that just doesn't go out every day. So that I gotta say thank you, Mark, on that.
You're welcome.
You got to impress that. There's a small savings, but it's something. Thank you.
If I could just say one more thing.
Yes, of
Mr.
course.
Chairman.
Sir.
I mean, since Bill's online, I do want to thank Bill for the zoning articles and getting them to the point where they are. Bill's been the quarterback of those. I've been slightly annoying to Bill. I know I have been, but Bill's been leading the charge, getting the articles to where they are tonight through the planning board. And there's a lot. There's like 5 zoning articles. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of heavy lifting. We finally have a town planner doing planning in town, fixing up spot zones and coming up with bylaws to improve our community in many different ways. So I want to thank Bill publicly. He just turned his video on for leading the charge and getting us to the point where we are tonight. Thanks, Bill.
Excellent. So we have a motion to insert 1 through 50 in the order in which they appear in the warrant we have here. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, passes unanimously. The next motion that we need is a motion to authorize town council and appropriate town staff to make clerical, typographical, or editorial, but not substantive, changes as may be necessary.
Second.
Motion's made by Mr. Gito, seconded by Vice Chair Carrera. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously. Next is a motion to close the town warrant.
So made.
Okay, made by Vice Chair Carrera, seconded by Mr. McCrisky. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously. Is there a motion to authorize and instruct appropriate town staff to post the warrant in accordance with state law and the town charter?
Second.
Made by Mr. McCrisky, seconded by Ms. Roberts. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously. And last is a motion to set the date of date and time of annual town meeting as per the charter. The charter has the date. Let me get the exact date here. I should know this is probably on the front of this thing. The 5th day of May, and a town meeting starts at 7 o'clock. I believe. So the town charter requires it be the first Monday in May. The first Monday in May is May 5th. And I don't think it's in the charter, but we usually start at 7 o'clock. So is there a motion to set the date and time of our annual town meeting to 7 o'clock on May 5th, 2025?
Second.
Okay, made by Mr. Gito, seconded by Vice Chair Carrera. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Okay, so we are done with that. Thank you. Thanks for getting us past the finish line on this. So the next item is this public hearing. This is the application for wine and malt beverage license from Du Brazil Market at 22 Porter Street. This is a confirmatory vote, we actually did already hear this, but the application itself, the charge originally was written for an all alcohol license, and that was what was advertised. However, when we did the hearing, and we offered them a wine and malt beverage license, so that we re-advertised for tonight. And so I'll read the charge quickly, and then we'll move on to the our next part of that business. Give me one moment. There we go. So this is Town of Stoughton notice of hearing. A public hearing will be held by the Select Board on February 4th, 2025 at 8 p.m. to consider the application of Dubersville Market Incorporated, located at 22 Porter Street, Stoughton, Massachusetts, 02072, for the application of a wine and malt beverage license. The hearing will be conducted at the Great Hall, 3rd floor, Town Hall, 10 Pearl Street, Stoughton, Massachusetts, and are virtually and via Google Meets, and may be broadcast via Stoughton Media Access Television and live stream. Google Meets video link and telephone connection for public comment available by calling the Select Board office at 781-341-1300, extension 9212, or email to gpereira at stoughton-ma.gov per order of Stephen Cavey, Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority. So we'll start by opening up the public hearing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So made.
Second.
Made by Vice Chair Carrera, seconded by Ms. Roberts. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, public hearing is open. The applicant wasn't required to come forward. Their testimony has already been recorded in our previous meeting, as well as all of the backup provided by town staff. And so I will open it up to any Select Board comments that want to be made, and then public comments. Anybody on the Select Board want to make a comment? Seeing none, are there any public comments? Ms. Walsh.
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. As I said at the previous public hearing, this is a fine addition to the business community. I particularly like the food, and from sitting there and eating and just observing the customers, it seems to be welcomed by all aspects of the community, not just the ethnic group that owns the business. And I think, as was stated by the owners, this will only add to the comfort of the folks that come in and actually sit down and eat. It's not going to be a bar. It's going to be a glass or two of beer or wine with the excellent food. So I think it's a positive addition.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Walsh. So any other further comments from the board? Otherwise, we can close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Okay, motion was closed, made by Vice Chair Carrera, seconded by Ms. Roberts. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously. What is the will of the board?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Motion to approve made by Vice Chair Carrera, seconded by Ms. Roberts. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously. Thank you so much, everybody. The next item that we'll cover is citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments? Ms. Walsh.
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. As you know, I am a town meeting representative from Precinct 3, and I just wanted to comment on how well the deputy moderator conducted the recent special town meeting. I think some people may have wondered, they don't know Carmel that well. but I thought she did an excellent job, and many of us were thrilled to be out of the hall before midnight.
Thank you very much. I totally agree. She did a really wonderful job. Okay, so there's nobody online for citizens' comments, I believe. So the next are select board comments. Anybody would make a comment tonight? Mr. McCrisky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I didn't know that Ms. Walsh was going to steal my thunder. And I was going to say the same thing. Ms. Drews did probably one of the best jobs I've seen of running a town meeting. The meeting was productive. It was not dogged down with people that were just moving editorial comments into their position of a motion being made or a question that really wasn't a question. I did say that to her last night, but I had every intention of doing the same thing, of congratulating her for just a stellar performance at town meeting. And I think that some of the complaints I've heard in the past about how long and how confusing town meeting has been shows last night that it can be better. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Drews, again for a fabulous job last night. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Vice Chair Carrera, any comments?
No.
Okay. Ms. Roberts?
I have to also concur. I just have to say this out loud that Carmel did such an excellent job. It was very well organized, and it was fair. And I told her that. So I just wanted to congratulate her as well. Very well done, Carmel Drews.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Gito, any comments?
Yes, I want to say the same thing. Sometimes I say there's nothing more to say on that, but I think that town meeting is a very important part of our community, and the way that town meeting was run, I think will help people to want to be town meeting members instead of not wanting to be town meeting members. I think the idea of what's a question and what is just, as some people would say, bloviating, was very important. The deputy moderator knew what a question was. It has a question mark at the end of it. And she, in fact, stuck to that and stuck to it very well. And that was the purpose of that part of the meeting. There were no 5 minutes of discussion with a tenuous thing that may have been a question. And I was just so happy to see that. I have one other comment. And that, unfortunately, Mark has left, but the town manager is here. We have a document. Mark gave me the updated copy of it. This is going to be volume 2 for town meeting. I would suggest that, and I will suggest, that the Finance Committee look at what this is and see if they can pare it down. But more important, the town, if it requires this much paper in order to tell the town meeting members what they have to vote on, we don't know how to communicate. If we can't get each one of those articles on one piece of paper, two-sided, we shouldn't be able to get the thing that we're asking for. We are not communicating. We are obfuscating. When we put 10 or 15 pages in and expect somebody to vote on the basis of that, as opposed to, we need this because, and here's what it looks like, here's what we're replacing, we're failing. I would suggest that between now and town meeting, Mr. Town Manager, that you see if you can get 50 pages. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I happen to agree fully with Mr. Gito. But one way this board could be helpful to Mark and to myself is to put that in the form of a policy. And the reason I ask for that is, although I agree with Mr. Gito, there are those that will not agree with us. If you recall, we voted on a piece of land last year on whether the town should buy the land. And we did exactly what Lou's proposing. We did an executive summary of the deed and of the assessed value and of the valuation, because the document was 157 pages long, thicker than that, on one article. And we got chastised in a major league way for not including the entire document. So I completely agree with Lou's position on this, but I think it will require a policy decision of this board that that's what we are to produce for town meeting if you want us to make that change.
Mr. Chairman, I want to be clear that what we are putting in for town meeting, for the town meeting members' use may be different from what we produce for the Finance Committee. Let me be clear. I was not saying that the Finance Committee would only get one piece of paper on an article. They are to get whatever they want because that's their job. So let's just make sure that we're clear. And I'm not saying that you are saying that,
Sure,
Mr. Town Manager, but I don't want anybody else on the board or anywhere else to have a confusion as to what the Finance Committee should get. It needs to get what it needs to get in order to be able to make good decisions.
Point well taken.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Carrera. You have some comments you'd like to make? Sorry. Well, no, I recognize Mr. Carrera.
Chairman, just want to add very quickly. I've heard more town meeting reps say, I don't have all the information. The town manager brought up the issue of the piece of land that we're going to purchase, but there are some people that use it as a resource so they can go through it if they need more information on a particular article. I think that we should come up with something in the middle, I guess, but because when we do a one page, there are people that have said, there's got to be more than one page of information on an article like this. Why are you not providing us everything? So, this is a slippery slope of what do we do? And, there are those people that think intentionally we don't provide all the information. Now, if we do, they have it. I would rather us give every piece of paper that we can give to town meeting reps and let them decide how much they need to make their decisions on the issues. So I don't have a problem with making things simple, but town meeting's never simple. And there are people that believe some people during this process are intentionally hiding information on issues. So I would rather, and we all talk about transparency. We all mention the word transparency at one meeting or another. This is transparency. You want it? Here's everything. One of those things, be careful what you wish for. You know, they want all the information, but I think with the more information we give town meeting, they're going to have ample information to answer their own questions. You know, so that's my 2 cents. I don't think there's anything. I think there's a real danger on going down to a few articles on one page. You know, I understand, simplify it, and I'm okay with that. I agree, but I would just caution us on getting too thin, you know, on the information we provide.
Thank you. Apologies, Mr. Carrera. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to tell you right now that I've been in town meeting since '88. I want the fat information. I don't want it watered down. If you want to save money or you want to do something, spend the postage, mail out a single page, 168, as we get all the time, on information to the members and say, maybe you're going to hold a meeting here to explain, do you want this whole document? One little meeting, you can trim that down that way. The ones who sign and say they don't want it, you cover yourself when the Attorney General gets the thing, I didn't get my share. I'm going to contest it. It'll hold it up. It'll hold up bonding, because if the town meeting doesn't go through, some one person finds that they have the right to hold it up, they will. You're best off either send it all out, it's only one time, it doesn't happen all the time, you just do the right thing. You can't slim it down. You can't take that much information that people are supposed to have and narrow it. I know it's a great idea, but you can't do it. If they need it, it's like saying a zoning article. You got to put the zoning article out that's there. You got to put out the piece that you're changing. It has to be in the book. Remember, it wasn't in the book. There was all holy hell. Guess what? Half of them didn't even understand what they were reading, but they heard from somebody, it's supposed to be there. Let's just do what we got to do, because you can't streamline. We'll spend 2 hours talking about Deborah didn't get it, Cynthia didn't get it, Joe, I got it, but I'm not going to share it. What are you going to do? Just print it, or have them come here, Tom, like when you have one of those meetings, show up, 7:30, Wednesday, informative thing, make everybody sign in. Those that didn't sign in, they don't get it. That's how you cover yourself. Just step it. We did the best we could to try to do the best we could. But if you don't give them the option, I guarantee you it'll just come back to bite us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yeah, Ms. Roberts.
So with the comments regarding making things leaner or leaving it as is, I want to err on the side of more is better, because I'm a town meeting rep and I like to go through all of the information, because it's information that kind of sparks another question, and I can tie everything together and tell the story. It's the one time that I don't receive the one piece of paper and someone else did, and I said, oh, that was the missing piece. I wish I had that piece of paper with all of this information. This, you know, as town meeting continues and we have the special town meeting and it's more and more, and we have 40 articles and 75 articles, you know, it does tend to grow our reams of paper to review. But you know, it's very important information, especially when it's about, and I'll just pick a topic, zoning. Zoning is very complex. You just can't understand it on a single document. You have to kind of follow the story along in the public hearings, in the information sessions. I can tell you, I'm on watching their meetings frequently, and when I get the information in writing, it's using the extra cents. So it's the site, it's the hearing, all of that, putting it together to fully understand. So you said, oh, I got it, and I see why it's important. So when it comes time to vote, you know, you're not asking duplicative type of questions. Everybody's, you know. So I kind of err on the side of giving all of the information that you have at hand.
So the only thing I'd like to add is that, unless I'm missing the point here, which I'm willing to accept that maybe I misunderstood, is that the warrant is the only thing we have any jurisdiction over. This is it. What backup goes into the book, that's the Finance Committee's decision. And we can always offer a recommendation, or we can just talk to them and ask them to do it. But I know that this warrant might be a little bit different, because I think there are elements that were in fact stripped out of this warrant and referenced. There might be a zoning article where, like, our bylaw change that is in fact just 10 pages long. If that's the case, you can't not put that in the warrant, but it might be referenced. But I don't think we have 300 pages that in that case. But as far as if it's just backup for the articles themselves, I believe that falls under the jurisdiction of the Finance Committee, and we wouldn't necessarily have a role in that. But I'll check that out just to verify what you're referring to, and if there's something that we can do, we'll add it to a future agenda.
Mr. Chairman?
Just a little bit of rebuttal, if I might.
Okay.
The zoning articles are in here. That's what's there, just the zoning article. The articles on the Cedar Hill capital projects, I'm sorry for picking out one, so I hope that I'm not offending anybody. A bunker rake, a fairway mower, a multi-purpose vehicle, and then there's the unforeseen building maintenance, which probably has no pages at all, because we wouldn't be able to see the unforeseen building. Now, that consumes that much space right there. Now, it's not that we couldn't have a picture of the rake or the mower or the multi-purpose vehicle, but it doesn't have to be a page worth. And we don't have to know each line item, is there an oil filter in it? Does it have something that tows behind it, or something else?
But what you're referring to are
what I'm
backup
saying
to the
is
article, right?
that we could take the material that's in these pages and capture the information from that material and put it on a two-sided sheet of paper. There's no hiding anything. It's just doing something that's smart and useful. So, to all the people in the audience who think that I am trying to hide material from town meeting members, I'm not trying to do that. I've been trying, I think, for the last 3 years to say, we're not communicating very well. We don't have a good website. We don't have a whole lot of things that we ought to have. I mean, I'm not trying to pick scabs here. But what I am trying to say is, if we're not smart enough, collectively, to be able to communicate with people in a way that in the 21st century, they will take information and use it, then we are failing. I'm going to say that, and I'll say it now. I'll say it again and again and again.
Fair enough.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah, Mr. McCrisky.
Just clarify something, Joe, if you don't mind?
Go ahead.
Just to update the board, the Finance Committee is trying to make improvements in this area. They have surveyed and spoken to town meeting members about electronically downloading all of this as opposed to doing it in hard copy. So there are discussions about this, and there has been specific pushback from town meeting members about doing just that. And that's frankly why I've put it back to the 5 members of the board. Whatever your policy is, we're going to comply with, but trying to reach and we are communicating, but trying to reach some degree of consensus on the best way to do it has been a real project for particularly the chairman of the Finance Committee, who is trying to reach that objective Lou is talking about. But there's an old saying, we've always done it the other way. And that's what I deal with every day in trying to find an effective way to communicate. Thank you, Joe, for seating.
Mr. Krisky.
Mr. Chairman, and again, and I'm going to go with the opposite, and I'm not accusing anyone of trying to hide anything or whatever. It's not that. But we have had some very simple issues get brought before this board, and people came here, would listen to somebody else or would listen to social media, and what we were aware of takes on a life of its own. And I don't see how we lose at all by at least putting it on the website, letting town meeting reps know it is downloadable. You take from the library of this book what you need to make your decision, because there are people that say you didn't give us everything. What don't I know is another one. How come we didn't get everything? Now, we all have different people who communicate with us, different views on the issues and how we deal with them individually. You know, there are conspiracy theorists in the crowd. There are the naysayers. You know, there are the people that just don't like the issue because they talk with their uncle's brother's cousin who said this. So I don't know what we lose by putting 100% of everything we have out there. And I believe it's got to be a policy from this board, and we should put it on an agenda for further discussion because we'll be here till midnight. You know, there's a distinct difference of opinion on this board, but I think that we have to come to a consensus on what it is and do something. And we have to be ready to say, because no matter what vote we take, other than putting it all out there and letting the voters at town meeting, the town meeting members, take from that what they need to make their decisions, and we say that, we're giving them everything they need. Some people may take one page and say, okay, I understand it. Or take that one page, ask a question based on that one area. So when we're giving everybody, again, this is transparency. When you're transparent, you put everything out there and let people use what they choose they want to use. So that's my, I would make a motion that we put this on an upcoming agenda to have a further conversation, which allows us all to maybe throw some new ideas around ourselves.
Yeah, I'll definitely put it on an agenda, but I really honestly want to talk to town council first. I'm 99% sure this is not in our jurisdiction at all. You know, we vote on 24 pages.
We create the warrant, and this would be a document of the warrant.
No, this is the warrant, 24 pages. Everything else is backup for the warrant.
But the facts that is a part of that warrant, like I said, the information that goes to substantiate the warrant is up to the user.
Yeah, so that is the warrant book, and that is in the jurisdiction of the Finance Committee and them alone. So we can. So
I have no problem. We talked to town
check.
council. I just, like I said, I like the idea of more information. Give people everything you can give them, and let them make their informed decisions in the way they want to make that decision. So that's my.
Yeah, so I'll check with town council if it's something that's
Chairman,
within our
may
jurisdiction.
May I
then
say one more thing? Here is a page. That could be a quarter of a page or something smaller. This happens to be a contour mower. Does it have to be a whole page to be a contour mower? Does someone have to see the whole page in order to have it available to people? That's the point that I'm trying to make to all of the members who are sitting here and all of the public people who are here.
I
Can
got
you
it,
see
Mr.
that?
Dito. Thank you. I see it.
Okay, there you go. Oh, wait a second. There, I guess that's the page, so people can see it on the big screen. Does it have to be a whole page of that mower?
Mr. Chairman, may I make one final point so the members are aware of it? By 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, the warrant and the backup will be on the town website it'll be on my website, and it'll be on the virtual table. And as more information comes in that is required or requested from the Finance Committee, that also gets added onto the virtual table. So to Lou's point, I agree with most of it, but I want to make the members aware, we're trying very, very hard to communicate. Communication takes two parties, right? So we're doing it in hard copy, and I understand and agree with Lou's objection to it. We're doing it electronically under the leadership of the chairman of the Finance Committee. He's working with town meeting members and the moderator about downloading this electronically. There's a lot of communication. There's just not a lot of consensus. And we've done a lot of things very, very, very quickly over the past couple of years. This is something that's going to require more communication so we can build consensus. I'll bet in this room alone, there wouldn't be consensus among us because you folks would want it electronically. Scott and I would want it in paper. So we couldn't expect that in the public either because there's the same makeup of our public. So I think it's worth a policy discussion and a policy issue on in a future agenda, policy decision.
So I appreciate everybody. I think, as I mentioned, let's just start by figuring out this is a problem that we even have jurisdiction to address, and then if it does, I'll put it on an agenda. It seems like there's a lot of strong opinions, and we'll hash it out then. For the time being, I think we're actually 2 minutes early, and I'd like to see if we can get to the end of this and move into executive session. So the next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. There's several items. Item A, approval of open session minutes of January 7th, 2025, and January 14th.
Manager's comment.
And January 14th, 2025. Item B is the application for a road race or parade, annual 4th of July parade on July 4th, 2025. Item C, application for a road race or parade, 13th annual Narragansett Summer Running Festival on July 13th, 2025, rain date July 20th, 2025. Item D, application for a road race or parade, Stoughton Youth Baseball Opening Day Parade on April 26th, 2025. Item E, application of a one-day alcohol beverage license, St. James Church on March 1st, 2025. And item F is the Memorial Square dedication application of Joseph Gambrazio. Are there any items that people have questions about? I do. Okay. Mr. Carrera. Vice Chair Carrera.
I have a question on D. It says application for a road race or parade. What is it? What do they want? How do we know when they make the decision it's a road race or a parade?
Yeah, it will say race or it will say parade in the application itself. So let me look for item D. So yeah, this is the actually in the agenda itself, Stoughton Youth Baseball Opening Day Parade. It's also listed that way on the application. So on the application it says Stoughton Youth Baseball Opening Day Parade.
Well, then I think we should take out the word road race. I don't know why it's in there. That confused me.
No problem. So the application itself, the name of the application itself is.
No, but we just cleared up something. That's why I'm saying.
Fair enough.
I don't want it. They decided to have the road race and we didn't approve it. So.
Are there any other questions?
And
Yes.
That's right.
Oh.
Nope. I just want to thank you for putting on the square for Joseph Gambrazio. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes, it is item F for the Memorial Square dedication application. It's not the application itself, it's regarding the policy. Are we following the current policy? Is there another policy? And what is the process?
Joe? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Well, the policy is, there's a policy that's written, and it is very heavy on community service. And I believe it is document 20 years of sports or something like that.
Right.
There was a draft sent out recently
Yes.
by
Sharon
by
Johnson.
Sharon, yeah, and the one that she provided is not something I could support. There are people in this community that are alive today. There are people in this community that have passed and had squares dedicated, and they may not have donated to a time to a group in excessive amounts of times. 20 years is a long time. We have had those people that have dedicated 30 years to youth sports. There's baseball fields named after them and so forth. But there are people, businessmen, that have, provided money to Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, have donated money to walking trails, and things like that. There are people that have given a lot of their time, money, and who they are. Even as there was B.A. Simeone was a Westwood representative years ago. But on the conclusion of World War II, when he started his business, he made sure that Stoughton veterans were hired, and he made that his pledge. And there was a square approved for him for that reason, because he was like a son of the town. He wasn't a Stoughton resident, but he, by who he was, contributed so much to the community, to people, programs, churches, and then hired people in Stoughton and made sure they were the first people to be hired for the job. I think that people like that you recognize. Those are the pictures of your community, one person at a time. There's one that I know that there are people moving an application around for Hank Herbawi, who anybody who didn't meet Hank Herbawi probably hasn't seen one of the 15,000 pictures he took at every event that there was. And he supported all of our veterans clubs. He had supported all of the sports groups when he was taking pictures, special events. And, things like that don't happen anymore. And those are the veterans that have made their community a better place to live, shown people that might not have seen it before the good inside the community by their own actions. But it may not have been 20 years with youth baseball or whatever. Charlie Lodge, who a square we approved a year and a half ago, I believe, was with Little Theater for 30 years, representing the arts to the younger generation. We've seen here Little Theater. And Jan comes up to us, every once in a while and brings a small group of kids that are performing. Did she do 20 years to a specific program? No, but she spent her life, Jan Jones has spent her life showing the arts to kids, challenging them to do something different. So, these programs, these documents and policies cannot be communistic, that good people that have made a difference in their community don't have a chance to be recognized. Now, granted, I would like to do away with square locations and to move something to more of monuments at Faxon Veteran Memorial Park, where we put up, and that'll be a town meeting article that I'll bring forward sooner or later, is that we should have our own mini walls per each branch of service, where if you served, period, your name belongs on that. And we should never forget the people who have served our community and protected our country, that we came home from Stoughton, went to a battle, and came home, as well as the ones who didn't, which we will. So I just think the document that's being offered is too tough, and it's our decision to be able, because it is the policy of the board, we can deviate from that anytime we want. It just comes down to, does a majority or more believe that this person has done more than what that original document outlines? Thank you.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. McCrisky. I do would like for you to put that on the agenda so we can talk about the policy. It was one thing that one of the lines in the policy that I said, I need to talk through this. And that statement was, in order to get a memorial square, has to be deceased, but there still has to be a living relative in the town of Stoughton. Now, based on the war and what time what year the person was born, they may not have any family members that still live in the town of Stoughton, but they are due their recognition. So I would like to talk through that, and if someone sees that on a piece of paper that you're ineligible because there's no living relative in the town of Stoughton, but maybe they live in Eastern, or, you know, it's just a lot to consider, and I would like to recognize our veterans and not be held to something that's so strict like that. So if we could just review the policy and then get it posted and then see how it ties into the Heroes banner, and that would be great.
Sure. I'd like to recognize
Mr.
Vice Chair
Chair?
Carrera.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Scott, I didn't see you.
On this square here, I did touch on it before, that some people, they change when they go off the war. My wife has a cousin that he won't take his back off the wall. We go to a function, you know exactly where he is. He's there, but he's not there. You can tell by his eyes. People have seen things, they've been involved in things. The World War II guys, they didn't talk about it. The Vietnam guys were even more closed-mouthed. And my father had 19 guys working for him. 9 of them were Vietnam guys, and they never said a word, but they were always on watch. Joe Gambrazio, I know he did more for the town than he gets credit for. He had a huge garden. We would go and get manure for it. My father would truck it in for him. He would spend all his time after building houses and stuff just threading that garden. Then he would come and say, Scott, come with me, I need help. We'd go to La Civita Court with bushel baskets, bags and everything, giving it out to the elderly that was there then, who probably a lot of them aren't there now. But there's nobody there to speak for this gentleman. I can, and I know what he did. His other brothers were a little more outgoing. Patsy was a great guy. I loved him. He's like everybody's father. Plus, he drove a Mack, and that was good too. So, but some people are withdrawn. They don't get involved because maybe they can't take the crowds or whatever. Everybody finds a different way to vent their lives, and to me, anybody who's a veteran, anybody who's gone over and see that kind of destruction and what it does to them, this is deserving. And we're here to make that decision. And to answer one of your questions, when you said, when do we do the squares? We always do a Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And it's a great time. So that's all I wanted to say, is that some people don't have to be at baseball or whatever. They do give in different ways. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. McCrisky.
And I'll make it quick. Mr. Chairman, I made a motion last year to create the square locations for Charlie Lodge and for Joe DeVito. I have a problem with another part of the application is, why do they have to be deceased? When we all took the vote, one of the most emotional things, and I'd been a friend like Scott, we'd known Joe DeVito for our whole lives, and that was Mr. DeVito. You know, and when he spoke, you stopped and you listened, you shut up and you walked away and said, yes, sir. When I told Joe, which I didn't know, that 2 months later he would pass, he had said, well, I think I'm going to have a problem, making that, why is this Memorial Day any different than any others? And I said, Joe, you're getting a square. And it was a moment in time, because I saw a guy who was as rough as he could be, a man's man, a guy who had a great stellar performance. There was things written on his career, and it was just one single tear that came down his face. Now, if we don't feel as human beings, it's an honor to say thank you to somebody, and that's their reaction, man, we shouldn't be doing this job. You know, this has got to be something that we are recognizing people who have made a difference in our community. And whether, and I'll even go, because it just made me think, when people make a difference. I saw a gentleman one time who donated a fence. The money could have been spent for anything else, but that person invested in his community. That speaks volumes about character, commitment, and love of your community. If we can't stand for that, I'm going to leave it with that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so we'll add this the policy. It looks like it was last authorized in August of 2005. So I think maybe every 20 years we can take a look at this thing, and we'll examine whether, if how we may want to change this, and provide better guidance to the Veterans Affairs Officer to administer this going forward. For the sake of just clarity, I'm going to pull F, and we can vote on that separately. But the other items, A through E, is there a motion to accept to approve the consent agenda items A through E?
So made.
Second.
Okay, a motion was made by Ms. Roberts, seconded by Mr. McCrisky. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Item F, Memorial Day dedication application for Joseph Gambrazio. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, made by Mr. Vice Chair Carrera, seconded by Mr. McCrisky. All in favor, say
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
every one of the veterans and everyone in the community contributes. They contribute in different ways. And we will pluck people out and say, oh, this one should have a square and this one should not. We've tried to create criteria in order to sort of differentiate between people who provide service. That first differentiation is to veterans. And so we provide squares for veterans. There are a lot of people in the community who also contribute. They contribute their whole lives. We don't give them squares. So this gentleman, not taking anything away from him, and not taking anything away from the other many, many veterans who served in World War II. There were 4 million people, I believe, who served in the Second World War. We don't have a square for each one of them. Mr. McCrisky's point of having a wall with the names of people is something that's done in many communities. And you see them for Civil War, you see them for Revolutionary War, you see them for a whole lot of other things. And they are monumental. They're not just a slab with names. They're towers, some of them. And they had all of the people who served. those places may or may not have squares. We ought to think about what we provide squares for. And we should recognize all of the people who were willing to be part of an effort to preserve the country and deal with them that way. I'm not taking anything away from this person when I say that. But we are taking away from a whole lot of other people who are not being named by not including them in that same criteria, because we five are sitting around here talking about people that we know. There could be 5 other people who wouldn't know this person, but they would know somebody else. What we tried to do, I think, and I don't remember when this was established, but what I think that we tried to do was non-politicize the process of creating squares by having other criteria that were demonstrable, not to the other 4 of us or 3 of us or 1 of us, but to the whole community. So I think that Ms. Roberts' point of saying, let's look at this policy, I think that the idea that Mr. McCrisky had of making sure that we honor all of the people who served are what we should be doing. Whether we give this person a square or not a square is, I guess, up to us. I would say that we think about this rather than do it, but other people might say do it and think about it later. When we do that, we'll just put it aside. I don't know what else to say about this. I really don't. But I would say that it's a little bit screwed up. And I think that if we want to take it on, that we do it. And if we don't want to take it on, then we'll just go around and the next group of people will find another corner to put somebody's name on. But I think we tried to, in having the policy, was to depoliticize the effort. But we're not going to be doing that. I'm done.
Mr. Cavey, Chairman, sir, none of this is political. I don't know why we're saying it's politicized or anything like that. If I could have a square on every corner, I could care less. I spoke to Joe. We both talked about doing something at Faxon Park down at the point. I said I'd like to have giant stones sticking out of the ground and faced, and then you'd have a walk through the gardens of stones. And Joe says, well, maybe we should do a wall. So this is stuff we thought about, but you get wrapped up in other stuff. 3 brothers went off to war. My uncle, great uncle, was supposed to go with them. A howitzer went off beside them. He didn't get to go. These 3 brothers went. We'd be sitting here, like I said before, trying to figure out if they all died, what can we do to remember these people? And then everybody would want to be part of it because it would be a great thing. These people are not here. Their families are. I find it a duty that they gave me the choice to make this choice for them. And we're not going to run out of squares. I don't know I just don't know why you are against them, Lou, most of the time.
I didn't say that I was against doing this. What I was saying was that the issue is why this person didn't meet a certain set of criteria that we have. And so we're saying, well, we'll pluck them out anyway. And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, then do it. But the point is that when you pluck that person out and you don't pluck the other 40 or 50,
Everybody
don't they
that's
have that
Well, guys,
same
we've
time?
gotta-
I'm going to be done with this.
So I think it's time to take a vote. This is
Yeah.
With 30 minutes on a consent agenda. So we've had
What I wanted to say was that to say that it's not political is to have your head in the sand, because there could be 5 other people sitting here and they would choose other people.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Yes. Okay, so it's 4 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention. And that completes our open session. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we skipped over the town manager comments. I apologize for that. Sorry, I was eager to get out of here. So, Tom, my apologies.
I promise you I'll be brief. How's that? Some good news on a couple of fronts that I'd like to report on. The first one is that the RFP, the request for proposal for the community center, will be going out within 10 days. We expect the construction to begin in the spring. We're working closely with the State Historical Commission on the exterior part of the building. They've got some requirements, and we think they're good ideas. We've raised about $2.5 million for this construction without anything in the budget, and we're waiting on an additional $2 million that we're working closely with Senator Markey's office that is in the federal budget as an earmark for this community center. But as we know, that's very unpredictable right now. The second thing I'd like to announce, I sent a note to each of the members. The Sonesta Hotel will be transitioning back to a hotel on June 30th. There will be 100 families, migrant families, and 50 students that will be transitioning out of that hotel and into permanent housing throughout the South Shore. No news on the second hotel yet, but that is definite. By June 30th, it'll be transitioned back in to the Sonesta Hotel. The third thing, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say, consistent with what all of the members have said this evening, I would like to comment just briefly on Carmel's performance last night. I wrote her a note today, and I just thanked her and recognized her for what I considered 2 words that described her performance, and that was grace, strength, and humor. I think there's a wonderful lesson for the whole town of Stoughton to learn by that example last night. And I hope people continue to talk about it, because I thought it was beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, and once again, apologies for having I crossed it off my list before we actually got to it.
I crossed it off my list too.
So apologies for that. The final order of business for tonight is an executive session. We've got 2 items. One is the approval of executive session minutes, meeting of January 14th, 2025, and revision of executive session minutes, meeting of November 13th, 2024. Item B is executive session pursuant to Open Meeting Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiation with non-union personnel and contract negotiation with non-union personnel. Town clerk. Is there a motion to enter executive session? Made by Mr. Gito, seconded by Ms. Roberts, and by roll call vote. All in favor? Mr. Gito?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. McCrisky?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Carrera?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. We will be adjourning from executive session and not returning to the open session. The time is now 9:36. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.